Hey there, everyone. This is Munir from AI Matters, and welcome to the third episode of the METHODROOM podcast. The METHODROOM is a long-form conversation and breakdown series by AI Matters, documenting how brand, content, and strategic decisions are actually made in real-time environments across the UAE. It focuses on the process, the judgments, the trade-offs, and the outcomes, not just trends, hacks, or surface-level commentary. If you want to see how real brands are built when real stakes are involved, then this is where the work is shown. This is basically a conversation that's been a long time coming, and not because it's new. Most of what we are going to talk about today has been known quietly, privately, by people across the industry for years. It gets discussed in WhatsApp groups. It gets vented about over coffee. It gets laughed off at industry events with a knowing look and a half-finished sentence. But it rarely gets said out loud, clearly, with evidence, in a room where both sides can hear it. Today, we are going to talk about bad agency behavior and bad client behavior. This is not to attack anyone, and it is also not to burn down anything, but because there are a lot of people in this industry, agencies, freelancers, creatives, clients, who are basically tired of pretending the problems don't exist and who believe genuinely that things can be better. This episode is for them. And maybe if you are honest with yourself, it is for you too. Before we get into the specifics, let's look at where the industry actually stands right now, because the numbers tell a story that most people in it do not want to admit. The 2024 State of Creativity report surveyed nearly 3,000 creatives and marketers globally. 45% of creative professionals described their client relationships as being difficult. Not challenging, just difficult. And from the client side, a marketing relationship survey found that 55% of clients were likely to switch their primary agency within the next 6 months. So which means that more than half of all the client agency relationships are on the verge of breaking down at any given moment. That is not a series of individual problems. That is a structural one, and it's coming from both sides. Now, problem number one. Let's start with the most normalized, dishonest practice in the industry, the bait and switch. You sit through a pitch, right? The senior partners are sharp, they're experienced, they're compelling. You basically sign and then they are gone. Your account gets handed to someone who basically joined 6 months ago. The strategy that was presented with absolute confidence gets filtered through basically 3 layers of handoff until what comes out feels like it was made for someone else entirely. This is documented. One industry analysis described it plainly. Once the contract is signed, the senior team disappears and the client loses continuity, clarity, and confidence. In Dubai specifically, industry guides sort of advise clients to meet the people who will actually work on their account before signing anything. The fact that this warning needs to exist tells you everything. But there are agencies that do not do this. They put the same people in the room from pitch to delivery. Those agencies are not better resourced. They're just being honest. And clients, I believe, remember the difference. Now, the second one, using jargon as a smokescreen. If an agency cannot explain what they do in plain language, they probably do not know what they're doing. Jargon in this industry is not intelligence, it is camouflage. A 2011 study found that people who use buzzwords instead of plain language are more likely to be perceived as lying. Not smarter, less trustworthy. And a 2022 peer-reviewed study confirmed it. Jargon weakens credibility and increases consumer doubt. The client who nods through a meeting full of phrases they do not understand is not going to call it out. They will sort of feel embarrassed, sign the retainer, and quietly look for someone else 3 months later. And the agency never finds out why they lost the account. Because jargon does not just confuse, it disconnects. Plain language is, I believe, a sign of genuine confidence. If you understand something, you can explain it simply. If you cannot, the jargon is telling you something. Now, let's head on over to the third problem that I've seen, And that's basically vanity metrics dressed up as results. Let's say 10 million impressions, 200,000 views, a report that looks amazing, but a business that is not growing. Vanity metrics, reach, impressions, engagement rates, they're not actual business results. They are attention, but in certain cases, the attention that does not convert into customers' revenue or even brand equity is basically just expensive noise. The agencies that build lasting relationships with clients are the ones who are willing to be measured by things that are harder to spin, like revenue, retention, brand recall, not just likes. Now, let's head on over to one of the last problems, I believe, that I've listed out for this conversation piece. And that's basically the strategy being retrofitted to sort of justify the creative that's already made. So the creative was already done. Someone had an idea in the room. The design started. And then afterwards, a strategy document was written to justify the direction that was already chosen. That is not strategy. It's just basically theater. And it produces work that looks confident and falls apart in the market because the foundation was never real. Harvard Business Review named the cost of this as an alignment tax, the hidden and compounding cost of decisions made before direction is actually established. The process matters. Strategy before creative is not just a philosophical preference. It is the structural reason why some work actually changes things and other work basically just exists. Now, let me be clear about something. There are agencies doing exceptional work, genuinely. Agencies that are absolutely honest with their clients, transparent about their process, and rigorous about their craft. They exist and they deserve to be recognized. This conversation is not about them, unfortunately. It is about raising the floor for everyone else. Because the behavior that we've just spoken about does not just harm clients. It harms those good agencies too. It erodes the trust at an industry level. And when trust erodes at an industry level, everyone pays the price for it. Which brings us to the other side of the table, because clients, and I say this with genuine respect, are not innocent in how these relationships break down. Now, one of the most common issues or bad client behaviors that I've seen is basically giving vague briefs with unrealistic expectations. A brief that says, make it feel premium or speak to millennials or position as innovative is not a brief. It's a wish list that is written by a committee to basically avoid internal disagreement. A 2024 survey found that 56% of CMOs cite poor briefing and feedback loops as top barriers to marketing effectiveness. And here's the uncomfortable truth about why briefs are getting vaguer. It's often political. A specific brief creates specific points of disagreements within an organization. A vague brief slides through internal approval without any friction. But the cost of that internal convenience gets transferred entirely to the creative team, who inherit all the confusion, and basically they are blamed when the work misses the mark. You cannot hand someone noise and expect them to deliver a signal. The brief is your responsibility. You have to own it. Now, the second problem that I've seen is basically feedback by committee. You gave the brief to one person. The feedback that comes is basically from 14 different people. The CEO wants it bolder. The CMO wants it simpler. Legal basically wants the entire thing removed. Sales wants more product. HR wanted to feel more human. And the result, after basically 4 or 5 rounds of revisions, is work that offends no one and basically moves nothing. The best work in this industry was never produced by consensus. It was produced by clear decisions made by people with the courage to make them. One decision maker, one voice on feedback. That is what good creative work requires from the client side. The next problem that I want to highlight is something that I've experienced multiple times ever since I started freelancing and then running an agency. And that is basically ghosting after a pitch. So you as a client, you basically ask for a pitch. Weeks of strategy, research, and creative went into it. Real people, real time, real money from the agency side, not on yours. And then basically you said nothing. No decision, no feedback, not even a short email to say that you went in a different direction. Now, you don't have to hire them. You are under no obligation to hire them. You don't even have to like the work. But you do have to reply. Silence is not a decision. It's basically a character statement, and it says a lot about you. Now, I basically had an experience towards the end of December 2025. We were in talks with the client. We basically had an online, a very good, productive meeting online where I gave all the ideas, spoke about how we can help them, and sort of expanded. And it was almost an hour or two long. So they got quite a bit of ideas and everything. And then we built up a proposal and we sent it off to them along with the pricing. We sent it to them, and after a week, I sort of followed up and asked him like, hey, we sent you this. Is there anything that you have questions, or confusions about? And I'm here to sort of help clarify those. They basically said, yeah, we're discussing it with the team and we'll get back to you shortly. So, okay, fine. I thought it takes around a week or 10 days to sort of go through with all the team members and maybe come back with a response. The first week passed, 10 days passed. I sent them a WhatsApp message. They've read the message, but no response. Then I sent them an email. After another 10 days or so, no response. And I sent them my final email after another 10 or 15 days. And I basically said, I feel that you've already sort of gone with someone else, or there might be another reason why you're not proceeding with this. And I didn't write it exactly like that. I sort of expressed it in an indirect tone, but I was sort of fed up as well because I've dealt with these guys before, and the first time it didn't work out because of certain external reasons. And so I was really hoping that this time we could sort of find a common path and work on the project together. And the fact that they've seen the messages, they've read through it, I'm sure I've received their emails, but even after 4 months since they have not decided to reply, I have taken it upon myself to sort of remove them from my client list permanently. And I've decided that I will not be working with them in the future under any circumstances. Because response with something like this, even after sending multiple messages and everything, it's a sign of respect, because I would do it. If someone asks me, hey Muni, why you're not going with this, I'll clearly tell them your price is expensive, or we've gone with someone else and the team has not reached an agreement to proceed with you. But you will get a response if and when we don't decide to go ahead with you. And I expect that. That's the least that I felt that I could expect from a client. Now that we've gone through all the issues from the client side and the agency side, what does better look like? And I want to be very careful here not to make this sound like a list of rules, because it does not. Better does not come from following a process, I think, at least. It comes from a shift in how both sides think about what this relationship is actually for. There are agencies in the industry and clients who have figured this out, who treat the brief as a shared document, who give feedback like they're solving a problem together, who measure success by whether the business grew, not whether the deck looked good or not. Those relationships exist. They produce work that neither side could have made alone. And I'm sure that the people in them will tell you the difference between a great client-agency relationship and a broken one is almost never talent. It is almost always honesty about what is actually needed, about what is actually possible, about what is not working before it becomes unfixable. The industry does not need more agencies. It does not need more content. It does not need more award-winning campaigns that basically move nothing. It needs more of that honesty from both sides and at the same time. If you made it this far, something in this conversation meant something to you. And I would genuinely like to know what. Not because I have all the answers, I really don't. But because the people who are frustrated by how this industry operates are also the people who care most about it. And those are exactly the people that this conversation is trying to find. Whether you're an agency, freelancer, creative, clients, artist, people who got into this because they believe that good work could do something real and who are still looking for the right environment to prove it. If that is you, you are in the right place. Share this, add to it, disagree with it if you think I got something wrong. But let's keep the conversation going, because the only way this industry gets better is if the people who care about it are willing to say so out loud. There are many agencies doing brilliant work. many clients who are genuine partners, many freelancers and creatives producing things that definitely matter. This conversation is not about replacing what is good. It's about giving what is good more room to exist. That is the only goal here. And it is big enough to be worth fighting for.